When I visit new cities, I like to try and use their transit system. They're all different experiences. Some are underground, some are elevated, some are on the streets. They use different vehicles and they travel to different places. But despite this, there are distinct traits that the systems have that make them able to be grouped. Similar systems were almost always built during the same eras and never replicated again. There will probably never be anything like the New York City subway or the DC Metro ever built again in the United States. Instead, we're going to have Elon Musk Hyperloop tubes that whisk us all from our homes to the M&M store at Times Square. Then we'll go home in autonomous Ubers that make record time by simply running over all the pedestrians. But what is the reason for this? Why doesn't every city just copy others? How well do these different types of transit serve their cities? Americans often complain about how lackluster the transit in their city is, and this is true across all types. So why is our transit so disappointing? In this series, we're going to try and answer these questions by studying different types of transit, from streetcars to subways, Ls to lifts. I want to dive into the history and politics surrounding transit systems. To visualize this, we're going to enlist the aid of an advanced simulation platform. In the past, we armchair urban planners have been limited by the software available. Finally, though, the same tools that were available to the greats of urban planning, Moses, Burnham, Le Corbusier, are available to us mere gamers. For showing the impact of transit on a city, I've put together a city in need of transit. Introducing Washburn. Washburn is a mid-sized American city based on a general feeling of Midwestiness. Disclaimer, I'm not from the Midwest, nor do I live there, so if you think I got it entirely wrong and want to tell me the exact detail that ruins the immersion for you, please like, subscribe, and comment. There are also elements of other regions around the United States and, of course, some Cities Skylines isms. In-game, Washburn has a population of 85,000, which could translate to about 400 to 800,000 people in the metropolitan area in a real-world setting. Washburn is a river town, which means that in the past it was a center for agricultural export and trade. Later, the railroads came along with factories. Finally, the industrial past was left behind in the mid-century, and the city has gone through periods of decline and reinvention since. After years of planning policy that have disincentivized urban housing, the downtown has few residents and is mostly a job center. This is where most offices, along with the city and state government, are located. Adjacent to the downtown is where much of the population lives in the inner ring suburbs, the suburbs across the river, or in new housing on top of former industrial sites. In Washburn, we have two of these neighborhoods to the north and south of the downtown. These neighborhoods will come into focus when we look at how transit serves new, wealthy development versus existing neighborhoods. And aside here, the parking situation in Washburn is very unrealistic. It is hard to build a city in Cities Skylines that has realistic levels of parking, like American cities, and still be functional. Since Sims can transform into cars at will, they don't need to park as much, and when they do, they prefer the street. I tried to include parking as much as possible, but to really do it justice, we would need to blow up most of the downtown and just pave over it, sort of like what cities did to themselves in the 60s. Outside of the downtown, there are inner ring neighborhoods. Some are in nicer shape than others, but in general, they're dense pre-war layouts and streetcar suburbs. These neighborhoods have the best transit outside the downtown, although the buses are still not frequent enough for most residents, so car ownership is relatively high. Farther out, the suburbs begin to thin out and become very auto-centric. Out here we have office parks, malls, the airport, and satellite towns. These areas are completely car dependent. Washburn is typical of smaller, mid-sized American cities. Its only transit is slow, sprawling bus service. The routes are mostly inherited from streetcars. They go to the same places as they did 80 years ago with only a few tweaks. Sometime in the 60s or 70s, Washburn's transit was consolidated from bankrupt private companies into the city-owned Washburn Area Rapid Transit, with corresponding cuts to service. WART service is okay downtown, where it serves its primary purpose of funneling commuters to office jobs. Even in the inner rings, service is alright. The pre-war grid has the density to support transit, and there are a few universities that have a reliable source of riders. Outside the city, service is infrequent and minimal to non-existent. Other points of interest: Washburn has an Amtrak station. There's a daily service to our nearest Midwest hub city. Our series is set roughly in the current day, so some Obama era improvements have recently improved service. The city station was renovated and ridership is ticking up. Outside the city is the regional airport. We don't have a Patreon for this channel, so just go in and just pretend that the default airport fits in. The airport has a few flights to cities in the Midwest and Southeast. Most folks drive to the airport and enter the pickup drop-off Gladiator Arena, but there is an express bus service that runs from the downtown bus station and some park and rides. In this series, part of what we'll be looking at is how our new systems take advantage of the existing infrastructure, such as routes and transit hubs, and how well they build off each other to boost ridership. In this series, our bucolic borough of Washburn is in the planning stages of building a new transit system. Each episode is going to be a fresh slate with a new transit system, based on a specific type of system that could be found in real American cities. I'll be building out the systems, watching how they work in Cities Skylines, and adapting our city to the changes that come with it. We're going to have a chance to see how a particular type would succeed or fail in the city. Success can mean different things. It's not enough to just say that the ridership increased. If we're only 10 years from irreversible climate change, more than just 9 to 5 commuters are going to have to start riding. Ridership is also not the only way a system can be successful. Good transit is not just fast and frequent, it's reliable, safe, accessible, and equitable. Joining me in these episodes, my friend Javier is going to help explain the relationship between transit and land use. Javier, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, my educational background is in architecture and city planning. Professionally, I work for a small architecture firm. I've worked for a small planning firm, and currently I work for a business improvement district, which we might talk about one of these days. I'll pop in every once in a while to talk about Washburn's land use policies, their zoning board, planning board, council, planning department, and why it matters to transit.
The first episode is going to look at modern streetcars. I'm going to look at why we've had an explosion in building small streetcar routes, how they function in cities, and as always, how effective they are as transit systems. That video will be up soon, so smash that like and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter at BigMoodEnergy, and see you back here soon.